the politics on campus. So you can learn the skills wherever you are. Mock parliament, forming part of the school parties. I didn't even know what it was. I was just excited to be part of debate society. I had no idea that I was being put in front of people to speak and it will one day be a career. I was part of the debate society. We're traveling to different schools to speak, and I was part of mock parliament. But that was the preparatory stage of where I sit today. And I was lucky enough to meet Madam Chief of Staff, the first female to be Chief of Staff, to mentor, to guide you, and to support with resources. Myself and the late Doris Seidu, another lady who's passed. We were very slim, very innocent. We had no idea what we were doing. We were in the chamber, 5th Parliament, and you were always like at a loss. And she was always there for us. And we were always inspired because our speaker was Speaker Banfordado. It was a she. So she was also encouraging those of us who had just come for the first time. I recall one incident. I walked into the chamber with an dress with short sleeves. Yes. And a gentleman, Asumen from Sege area, got up. These are the things they do to bully you. And asked the speaker that if it was appropriate for me to be in the chamber because I was not properly dressed. And Madam Banfordado told him that you come in here with shirts and I see your biceps. What is wrong seeing Kathleen's cleavage? And it is in the Hansard today. Yes. So she stood up. See, those are the little tactics they will use, and you'll be cowered into submission and you will not speak again. He got up and said, my outfit was revealing and I'm not properly dressed. And she stood up and defended me that you, gentlemen, you come in here. I see your biceps. That's also inappropriate. So if you see a little cleavage, it's okay. So the more women we have in the chamber, the more our issues and our cases can be protected. But on a more serious note, I'm telling you, if we don't have more women showing interest in contesting for political positions, a lot of the decisions will be biased and will be skewed. To date, Auntie Ekuya and Madam will attest, the interstate succession bill has not been passed, and it will not be passed because you have less than 40% of women. Right now, we have 15%. There is no way they're going to pass an interstate succession bill that is pro-woman. So if you don't have more women in the chamber, a lot of laws will not get passed because it does not favor the majority. The spousal property rights is domestic violence was passed because Madam Frema and Antiquia and others were sponsoring and they were championing. But that was not intimidating. But the spousal rights, it will not see the light of day unless you have almost 100 females as members of parliament. That is the more reason why I'm telling you I will break a record. I will be part of the 9th parliament with a fierce determination so a young girl in the Nzima land will see it as doable. 208, I was contesting in an area where it's predominantly CPP. They didn't have New Patriotic Party in Nzima land. That is Kwame Nkrumah's zone. But I defied odds and I won. It is simple, mental. 2012, I was kicked out. But I did not run away. I went home and did my homework and I came back in 2016. A lot of my counterparts, women, they lose the first time and that's it. And they cry and they never get over the loss. You have to fall and learn to rise again. In 2020, I was, thanks to Madam Chief of Staff, I was made a Minister of Tourism, a cabinet minister. I was voted out with all the interventions that I did in my constituency. I was voted out. Any normal woman will say, why should I put myself through this? But there's a child, there's a 15-year-old, a girl, who is aspiring to be a leader. So I got myself together. In 2023, I went for the primaries. It was fierce, but I won. And now I am the parliamentary candidate for the same constituency, and in the next 24 days, I must win. Just to prove a point that women are capable. So you see the triangle. 5th Parliament, I'm part. 7th Parliament, I'm part. So 9th Parliament, I will be part. And a young lady out here will see that it is very, very normal for a woman to fall and to rise again. A woman falls and she can do what? Rise again. That's what we need to teach the younger ones coming. But please, in all these things, learn to network. Learn to network. Return phone calls and return favors. You never know when that person will return a favor to you. In politics, it's all about relationships. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me, please? Yes. Hello? Yeah, this is better. Yeah, I'm here to tell everybody that you don't have to have a golden or silver spoon in your mouth to make it in life or to make it in decision making. If I tell you where I come from and where I've gotten today, you will marvel. Much of it was largely due to mentoring and mentorship from Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings. In fact, she identified me in 1997 after the Beijing conference. the famous Beijing conference. Oh yes, it did a lot in my life. She identified me and mentioned it to President J.J. Rawlings to have me go to Pando and start as district chief executive because she saw potentials in me. I did that, and of course I looked up to women like Mrs. Cecilia Johnson, Ama Benyuado, the famous Ama Benyuado, Mrs. Mary Grant, Dr. Mrs. Mary Grant, and others like them. So mentoring and mentorship is very important, but you must be humble to learn at the feet of giants and senior people. You must be very humble and work hard, even though they will identify you and give you all the support. If you don't have these values, you cannot make it as a woman in decision making. Secondly, the issue of funding, or funding, as was mentioned, is very critical. Politics is now big business. It is very expensive. People sell cars, people sell lands, people sell houses just to go and contest. And if you're not lucky and you lose the primaries, forget it. You've lost all your lifetime savings and investment and everything. So funding is a very important challenge that must be addressed. And some mention has been made about national political party funding. But in our part of the world, I don't know whether this is going to be possible in the next 20 years. We have more development challenges that we need to address with our lean national budgets. And so we can start the debate and see how far it goes, but then I don't think it's an option. I don't see it as an option now. So what we can do in terms of funding is to maybe build networks of good friends who can support in one way or the other, but on condition, knowing that you are going to make it. If you are not sure about winning your seat, please don't go and, cause trouble for anybody's anybody's funds. Also, some banks may or should think about political party funding or funding for women politicians. And on condition that the women win, and then they can use their salaries in parliament to pay off the debt. If they don't win, too bad. The other issue has to be with capacity building, like Joanna and Bridget are doing. Yes, we need soft skills. Women need to learn soft skills. You need to be empowered. You need to be emboldened to take up that responsibility. So whatever they are doing is good enough. And we need capacity building, especially to handle our mental health. Because being a woman politician, a homemaker, a family person, whatever, it's not easy. Sometimes you go nuts. At the end of the day, you get home and you don't know how to even manage yourself. So we need a lot of help in that direction. We also need NGOs and CSOs. During our time, we had a few of them, very powerful, who taught us, these skills, and also helped us in asserting ourselves. They groomed us to be very assertive and very forward-looking, very proactive. But at the end of the day, it falls on you as the candidate, as a person, to take advantage of the skills that you have been empowered with. We also need donor funding. Several years ago, I know UNDP. In those days, UNDP Ghana used to help women candidates with things like T-shirts, capacity building programs, and all of that. But these days, I don't hear much of that. I think their own funding sources are dwindling, so they may not be able to help us. The other area we should be looking at is networking with women groups in various parts of Africa. There are very strong women groups out there. You Google them and you find them. They are very ready and willing to support women candidates. And so we should also take advantage of those opportunities. And like I've said, you don't have to have a silver spoon or a golden spoon in your mouth to make it. Just tell yourself that I can make it. If Asimasi can make it, I can also make it. And this is the story of Akua Sena Danswa. Thank you.
Yes. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So I wanted to add to the support what I have found out from a personal experience. Is this? Oh, okay. From a personal experiences, when we invest in the women in the communities, you find them emerging as leaders. And I'm not here to promote my business. I sell Jomi. And I work with women who produce Jomi. And you can see them growing their leadership skills just by the mere fact that they are empowered financially. They have become economically empowered, and therefore they have voice. And I think that Nana Kunedu Ajuman Rollins was onto something when she started the 31st December Women's Movement. Maybe what went a little awry with that was the political leaning of it. But if it had been left to just community level and empowering all women at the community, that would have been a big movement of women who are empowered to take decisions for themselves and take leadership roles at the community level. Because you see, even without political power, they are playing those roles already. They are able to mobilize each other. I told the story. I said, be very afraid of rivals who become friends. Be very afraid. And I have a practical story of a friend who had 2 wives, and they became friends. He was in trouble. He was in big trouble. So when you are able to mobilize women and empower them with a common good, they are a force, and they are empowered to take up leadership.
Thank you. Yeah. So unfortunately, we're running out of time, and we do want to get some Q&A. So I just have one final round of questions, and this is, our goal here is to make sure that we have a position paper that we can hand into the incoming government so that some decisions are made with some of the findings and recommendations from this committee. So I wanted to just ask each of you if you could make a couple of recommendations. If you were in front of the incoming government today and the elections were over, what would you say or what would you recommend as 2 things that ought to be considered to ensure that women play a larger role in the government? Whether it's not only political, we have, these agencies like State Housing Corporation. There are so many other ways in which the women representation can be increased. So I'll start with you.
So I'd like to use the example of busing in the US. After the civil rights movement succeeded in, having a civil rights bill where black children could get the same quality education as white children, because until then you had Jim Crow laws where you have white only, black only, very similar to apartheid. But what they noticed was, even though the laws had changed, nothing was changing. So the government actually bused black children into white areas and into white schools. And that was the beginning of affirmative action. All around the world, there are different ways of achieving policy goals. I think Rwanda has a huge amount of women in their parliament, for example. You need to give people examples of what you're trying to do. And the only way to do it is to make it happen. So in the beginning, you need to actually have direct policies, as Ikuya had given the example of, I think it was Catherine, you need to have a certain quota of women, seats reserved for women. And I like the idea that the women can compete for the seats, so that it's not seen as just tokenism. But it's very important to allocate areas and numbers in different leadership organizations and say these are reserved for women, so that other young girls coming up can see those women in those roles and be inspired to emulate. One last example, Maya Angelou's book, she lived in Ghana in the late 60s, and she gave the example of her son seeing a Ghana Airways pilot. And the reaction of her young son, who she had brought from America, "Mommy, look at a black pilot." He had never seen anything like that in America before, and he was just blown away, so excited. So it's really important that people get to see what they are aspiring to become, or even get to see so that they even think of aspiring to become something or other. So that's one part of it. And then the second one, obviously, is if we want women to go into positions of leadership, we have to understand that they need to be prepared in all the different ways that you can prepare women. We have to be intentional and deliberate about preparing them for leadership roles. And much as, women in Ghana have achieved so much, there's still more to be achieved, or we won't be here today. So obviously, there is room for improvement. So let us take that on board, that there can be programs and funding to support women to prepare them for leadership roles.
Thank you.
The two things I would like to tell the incoming government is, first of all, in the appointments, let's meet that quota. The affirmative action bill has been passed into law. So they should be we should demand that they meet that 30% or more from the get-go. And if they are not, I think that we've been agitating that we vote for our DCs and MMDCs. Let's put the women forward. I believe that it should not be partisan. And I think that if we make it partisan, it will deter a lot of women. Let's make it non-partisan. Let's have the women go into that space and take up this. We are good managers. Women are good managers. So at the district level, if you put women to head those areas, things are going to change. So those are the two things. And then what I will say to us is, when we go to vote, please, at the assembly level, let's all go out and vote. Regardless, just go and vote for the women. It's a start. You see, we keep saying, oh, we must be prepared, or we must be good, or we must be. The men, they don't wait. They go. He go. There's a quote I like from a woman called something Chisholm, I think Christian. She says, anything a woman must do, Shirley Chisholm. Was it Shirley Chisholm who said this? That anything a woman must do, she must do work twice as hard to be thought of as half as good as a man. Luckily, it's not difficult. Yes. Luckily, it's not, we can. Luckily, it's not difficult. So let's go out there and choose the women. Let's not start saying, oh, is she qualified? Is she... No. She will get there, and if she fails, she will rise up and do it again.
Yeah, thank you. So, 2 recommendations you are looking for. My first recommendation is the same as Bridget's. Now, in terms of the appointments, let's ensure that we have the minimum 30%, you know. And sometimes you hear that, oh, it's all the appointments put together. I think let's categorize them. Ministers, let's get 30% women. When it comes to the appointments of, what's it called, MC, municipal and MMDCEs, let's have and it's minimum 30%. It doesn't mean that we should stop at 30% anyway. Yeah, 30% board representation, 30%. And for board representation, not just board, but also chairing of boards, you know, 30%. So let's break these things down, and let's, you know, we only have to look a little harder. The women are there. We are there, aren't we? Yes, we are there. So we need to, yeah, we need to do that. That is not negotiable, you know, now that we got the affirmative bill passed. And then my second recommendation is what Honorable Catherine suggested earlier on. We need to have some kind of quota system, you know, carve out some, reserve some seats for women. It can be done, especially quite easily in the, how do we call them, the safe seats area, you know, strongholds and so on, for at least the 2 major parties. Let's give the women the opportunity to prove our worth, right? I say that, you know, for me as first female vice chancellor, it's such a responsibility, because God forbid if I should fail, they're not going to give the next woman the opportunity because I failed. And why did I fail? Because I'm a woman. So the next woman will fail. Men fail all the time, don't they? And then we give the next man the opportunity to come and fail again. So at least let's give women the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I've enjoyed myself. I have 3 things. The first one is legal. We pray that the government that comes in on the 7th of January will adhere to the SDG goal number 5. Gender equity is critical for the nation Ghana. 30% is not enough. It's minimum. We are very comfortable. Again, it's part of our orientation. 30. We are not saying 40. We are not saying 50. I will venture to say that the appointments should be at least 50%. At least 50%. We've never asked for it. See, we are very comfortable with minimum 30. That's the she factor. That's how we've been trained to think. We have to be bold and ask for bigger things, at least. And we have the qualified women in nation Ghana. And as the appointments are trickling in, be the watchdog. Look. And look. And if it's not there, thank God for social media. Agitate. Send a mail. Send a social media and start the fight online. That we want more women in positions of power, because we are qualified. We are more than qualified. And if we have that clarion call, we will have some male counterparts support us. We deserve it. It is not on a silver platter. We deserve it. That's the first one. The second one, Madam Moderator, is the affirmative action law implementation. It should not sit on the shelf. It took a long time for it to come to life. We need it implemented so we can hold the government accountable to clause 1 to the end. Whatever is in there can be implemented. And the third and final one, wherever you vote, come December 7th, vote for the woman. If your constituency has a woman fielded as a candidate, vote for that woman. That is the only way we can deliberately get more women in parliament. And if you know a woman contestant who's not in your constituency, like my good self, tell your friends in that constituency to vote. Vote for a woman. If you don't deliberately take the women to parliament, it will not happen. It is intentional. There are only 276 seats. At least give us the 76 come December 7th. I am contesting. I am a candidate, and I ask for your vote across the nation. Thank you.
Catherine, I'll come and vote for you.
Please do.
Yeah, so from the records, I'm not sure we are going to have majority, many women in parliament, because out of the over 800 candidates, we have only 200 women as parliamentary candidates. So it's clear. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to have many women in parliament, but that is just by the way. We hope that the government that comes in will first of all do all the necessary legal and policy amendments to address gender equity issues, especially the spousal property bill that has been in parliament for so long. We also have a lot of challenges with women, our families, our businesses, our name it, anything that has to do with women. The government of the incoming government should address them and address them seriously with the necessary financial backing. Like earlier speakers have said, apart from ministerial appointments, we have boards, appointments to boards, corporations, MMDCs, positions and all. And so if the government, the incoming government is minded, it will use these vacancies or opportunities to address the gender imbalance that will be experienced in parliament. We also encourage the incoming government to give a listening voice or hearing to CSOs and NGOs that address equity, gender equity issues. If we help them, we empower them, they will also go a long way to help us in the communities address some of the challenges that we are talking about here. More importantly, the few women we are going to have in parliament, they should assert themselves. They should assert themselves. They are there to represent women in the whole of Ghana. They are not there to represent women in their constituencies only. So we must see to it or ensure that they provide that backing or that support to women and women voices in Ghana. The last but not the least, we need groups like the Aburi's Old Students Association. I don't know how you call it. Is it?
AOGA.
AOGA. We need women's groups, doctors, lawyers, IT people, PR and communications people to help the women that are in parliament to do their work. I mean, most of them may come in new. They may not have the skills that they need to do parliamentary work. So whatever way we can help them to be productive, let us all bind together and help them to make a success of their being in parliament. So with these few comments, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, let's give a round of applause to these wonderful ladies who have led the panel. Ambassador Johan Svanega, Madam Bridget Dogbe Nuku, Professor Nanaba Piamfo, Honorable Ikria Sena Danswa, and Honorable Katrina Feku. Please give it up for them. We don't have too much time, but we'd like to open it up for any questions. So if you have a few questions, just lift up your hand and we'll bring the mic to you for...
Thank you so much for all your contributions. My question is, what I got from it is most women in power, they have to present themselves like 150% capable before they are given the chance to be in power. However, we are encouraging young people, young women to also take up roles. Looking at that, it discourages young women. They feel they have to do extra. How does one encourage a young person like myself to see that you can be vulnerable, you know, in certain situations, and you'll not be seen as weak? Because I don't know how to put it, but if it appears that you have to look perfect, and yeah, so how do I, draw the balance between the two, not looking so perfect, and in the same way encouraging someone else to?
I'm going to have Honorable Afiku answer this because she has demonstrated the falling down and coming up really masterfully. And so it's not even falling down, but it's just a new opportunity, a new challenge, So I think I'll have her answer that question for you because I think she will bring to it a certain perspective that will make you appreciate the answer more. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My dear sister, what we shared here was the reality. It will not make you weak. It's actually to prepare you that this is what's out there in the world, that you will need to perform 2-3 times as a male counterpart. So it actually is the mental preparation that we're giving you, and you should not see it as making you weak, neither perfect, but it's a mental training. And thankfully, we are all here to walk with you through that journey. What you need is determination, because you will get genuine people, your family, your friends, who will tell you not to venture, because you'll be hurt, you'll be insulted, you'll be bullied. But these are all hurdles that you have to psych your mind that you can overcome. So everything that we said here was to psych your mind that the journey will be arduous, but we have done it. So if we can do it, you can also do it. So that's how I can put it forward.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much. This has been a very educative dialogue, and my question is this. So how do we make politics and leadership, especially politics, attractive to young women, void of insults and personal attacks on our fellow women? So personally, I have loved everything about politics, but what actually makes me shun away from it is the fact that our lovely mothers and women here have spoken about supporting other women, but we are the same women who find ourselves in political spaces, pulling each other down, insulting and shaming each other. So I want them to let us know where they are, how they can make it attractive to some of us who cannot stand the insults and all those things. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to have Bridget take this question.
So, frankly, the insults will come. And the way I take it is this. When someone is being particularly insulting, they themselves are coming from a place of deep pain and fear and anger. The only way to make themselves feel better is to try to put you down. So I sympathize with them really when they are vicious like that. And politically, I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said, when they start the personal attacks, that's when she realizes they have no more political argument in them. So they have to turn it on you. So, frankly, it is what you want. What do you want? What are you pursuing? What is your goal? What is your dream? And if it is actually leadership to make impact and to change things, I think it's Dr. Pabobo, if you know Dr. Pabobo. He said, yes, to cry upon our syndrome. Even Christ was crucified. Who am I? You know, you will, the insults will come. But because you have a certain purpose or vision or dream, you must just fix your eyes on that and keep going. And with the lady who talks about vulnerability, the ability to show vulnerability is a strength. If you are able to say, I don't know, but I'm learning. We are all in a process of growth. There's nothing like perfection. The men are not perfect, neither are we. We are all in a process, and we will get there somehow. And the day you hit perfection is actually the day you die.
Thank you.
I was going to add that these days you have coping mechanisms. You have the benefit of social media. You can respond to some of these trolls and challenges. You have laws backing you when people sexually harass you online and all that. You can report that the necessary action will be taken. Nowadays, we didn't have that. We braced up to it. So you can also do it. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to thank this very powerful panel, two of who are very close to my heart. I had an experience during our recent global elections, which I would like to share, and it ties in with some of the things that the panelists spoke about this evening. On my house platform, Edinburgh House, things got a bit heated. You are on that platform, you know. I started to ask a few hard questions, and I started to get a lot of calls. Don't do that. Be nice. Don't say things like that. Don't talk about the other person. Just talk about what you are coming to do. And I remember one of the older ladies I engaged who called me. I asked her, is this the reason why Aburi Girls is not featured in any national there's no Aburi Girl student, AOGA, who is in a national position. If this is how we think, then it shows where we are. I would just like to say, it's not easy there. People will say things they know are not true. They'll say it anyways. People will do things just to get you down. I've seen it. I've been close enough. I've seen it. If we are not able to grow that tough skin and go in there, we won't get anywhere. We can't be nice. We just have to go and do the work and be rough, if that is what it takes. But if we are waiting for people to be nice to us, for we ourselves to be nice, there will be no AOGA, no woman in a position of power. Thank you.
Moderator, can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh.
Pardon? Should I mention my name?
Oh, you may.
There's no need.
Yeah.
Please, while you are advocating for more women representation in Parliament, I think many of the women parliamentarians, they've not lived up to expectation. You see, people, the other day I was discussing this with some friends, and I mentioned some women parliamentarians I know that I've not heard from them in Parliament. Then the friend said, you see, I mean, people have taken it. People have taken the work of Parliament as an investment, because there are a lot of women there. For 4 years, they've never spoken. You see, and then when you come to when you said women parliamentary candidates should be voted for, Kofi Palu, that's the leader of the Liberal Party of Ghana, in Kumasi, many of his parliamentary candidates are women. Many, I saw that in about 15 constituencies in the Ashanti region. So I don't know. You see, people will think voting for Kofi Palu, you are just going to waste your vote. You see, that is the thing.
So I'll let Prof answer, but I would like to say a couple of things. I think when it comes to women issues, we tend to use the smaller example and magnify them. Whereas the same thing with the Aburi girls, there were other people who were doing great things. So let's not focus on the small examples and amplify that to be representative of everyone. So let's focus on those who are also doing great things and doing great things well. Because there are many men, as we've said here, who are also not performing well. And yet we tend to we are harder on ourselves than we shouldn't be. We should be congratulating ourselves for how far we have come. All right, so Prof.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to say exactly that yes, there are men who have been in parliament for 12 years. We haven't heard what they stand for. Yet we keep voting for them again and again. And I mean, I'm sure that our colleagues who have been in parliament will let us know that the work of parliament goes beyond speaking in the main. It's a part of it, but the real work is really in the committee work and so on and so forth. So let's please, when one woman supposedly fails, it doesn't matter. Let's give the next woman the opportunity to. We've done it, over and over again for men. So, I mean, as I keep saying at the University of Ghana, as Madam Chief of Staff mentioned, the Chancellor is female, the Chair of Council is female, the Vice Chancellor is female, the Registrar is female, the Director of Finance is female, the Director of Public Affairs is female. And when we go to Parliament, public account, hey, University of Ghana, you've come again. Where are the men of you? I said, look, for over 70 years, they were all men. Nobody complained. So please chalk. Let's chop for another 70 years. Then we can come back and then split up the positions. But I would like to say, please, the insults is not just about politicians. Once you are in public service, at the University of Ghana, annually I have the SRC day with the VC, and the students can ask me anything they want. The other day, someone asked, when you were here, did you have a boyfriend? It's okay, I answered that. And the last time, someone said, so when you see all those insults, and by the way, for those of you who follow UG, I have something with the vandals, and so they make sure anything that is posted on social media that has me there, somebody will go and write nasty there. So the student asked me, so when you see those things, how do you feel? And I said that, look, if that gets under my skin, then I'm in the wrong profession. It will come. Once it's public service, it will come. But so long as you are convinced, it's not everybody. You may be doing the most amazing work, but it's not everybody who would like you for one reason or the other. And my dear sister, we're not talking about perfection here, right? This month, I chopped my 23rd anniversary working at the University of Ghana. For how many years you didn't know me, you didn't hear about me. You probably just heard about me when I became, Vice Chancellor 3 years ago. But all of those years, I was preparing myself in the background, taking up various opportunities to grow. And I think one of us spoke about that. Take any opportunity that you can to grow, to build yourself up, soft skills, your disciplinary depth. And then you would realize when the opportunity comes, you will be ready, and you start somewhere, right? In your old school group, your year group, volunteer yourself up for organization, for leadership, and you learn through the process. You don't get up one day and you get up there. It's a process. And so we're not talking about perfection, but growth. Thank you.
I had a quick comment. I think the lady left, so we'll just leave it like that. But when you have only 40
left.
women in the chamber, the likelihood of a woman getting up is very intimidating. But those of us who manage to do that, it does not mean that you are better. There are secrets and methods, and when you learn from the experts, making statements, you get visibility. Asking questions, you get visibility. But when you have only 14% out of 100 being women, the likelihood of them getting opportunity to get up can be a little bit difficult. So
I just want to say that Parliament is about representation, and there are a lot of people who don't speak English, for example. So it should not be a bar to somebody going into Parliament. Rather, we should give them the opportunity to speak their own languages and bring translation into Parliament. Catherine also spoke about the current elections, and that when the women get in, we should support them. I think you said that. And that's part of the support we can give them, to give them the confidence to speak once they are in Parliament and to be able to adequately represent who they are representing. But I think it's tragic, actually, that we can't speak our own languages in our own Parliament. Yeah.
As a follow-up on that, I took our mentoring, a cohort of our mentoring group into Parliament, and we do that every year. And we met with some women parliamentarians. And as they sat, one of them boldly said, Mekatri. Her name is Amase. Amase won the elections on her own merit and came into Parliament speaking Tree. It was the most admirable thing I had ever seen in my life. And we all know what happened to her the next election and what happened to her party. Hello. You know, because her people wanted her. The people wanted her, not about whether how learned she was or she was a hairdresser. And therefore, and when you have, this is a resource, this is rich, but we lost her.
No, I was going to say that in Parliament we have translation services, but it just that it's not being utilized. So it is, I think, yeah, okay. So I think that in the next Parliament we should get leadership to ensure that all the facilities and amenities are provided to empower women who may not be able to speak English to do their work in the chamber. Yeah, it's very important.
I know there may be other questions, but we do have to wrap it up. There will be a reception afterwards, and I'm sure these lovely ladies will be there, and you can ask them, meet with them and ask them more personal questions. So I'd like to bring this session to a close, and again, thank Ambassador Juan Swanega, Madam Bridget Dogbunuku, Professor Nanaba Pia Amfo, Honorable Lekuya Senadanso, and Honorable Catherine Afriku. Thank you so very much for this wonderful panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So a few take-homes for me. I'm sure we've all learned a thing or two. We need to have more of these sessions. We need to encourage ourselves, and we need to work hard as women and fight. And the fight is not physical, but mental. So we would have our closing remarks by Esinam Lucy Ama Apasu. So we'll have the chairperson's response. Honorable Akosia Frema.
Thank you very much. Actually, I've been very glad just listening. And I've been very enriched and also renewed my confidence in women. a number of issues have come up. I will not attempt to summarize. It will be unnecessary and even diluting what has been said. But there are key things that our speaker also attempted, which we can share the chairmanship because she was doing a good job. But certainly, it's come out very strongly that societal and cultural barriers have been identified in many ways, whether it's at home, whether it is in school, whether it's in any community group, that it doesn't encourage women to be confident and to pursue leadership roles. We have been given a number of strategies. And one thing that has come out very clearly, even for those of us who never consciously realize how important our work has been, is mentorship. Supporting people who have just come in, supporting those who are trying, supporting the ambitious person who still uncertain. I want to do this, but I'm not sure I can do it. There's a group that I mentored in whilst I was an MP in Ayawaso West Wogon. University of Ghana is part of my constituency, a very important part of the constituency. And this group is called the EXLA group. Now, I must tell you, the group were just students who have just come together to recognize achievers. And I mean, they just came to me as their MP, and I found them quite interesting. So we did things together. They had their plans, I supported them. This was years back. And Excellent Group has morphed into a very strong civil society organization who now internationally recognized. And these are young people from the University of Ghana. And it's one of the groups I keep, selling, because I believe that we can help, all of us. We can take people by the hand and support them to grow. And it doesn't matter how small your idea you think is. Share it with somebody who is willing. And I'm now addressing the younger people. Sell your idea to somebody who will listen to you. And you will find that, through advice here, you may go through a formal mentorship program like our sisters here have, but in some cases it's just relationship and support and going to discuss issues, and you can grow into a giant that may be beyond recognition. So mentorship is important. The one takeaway from our Vice Chancellor, the University of Ghana, about sponsorship. Don't just mentor. What opportunities can we open up for people? And I think we should do that consciously. It has been quite clearly. demonstrated here. The one thing that came up is our own personalities. I agree with Mrs. Swanika when he says, I'm in leadership, but not political leadership. And in fact, not everybody is a politician. Just like not everybody is a corporate entity. We all have our talents and where we can shine. And the shine that we say the people so hand, your light can be political, it can be marketing, it can be journalism, it can be anything. But whatever you set your mind to do, let's put in our best. Let's accept that it's a journey. It's not an instant thing. You, like Akuya said, humble yourself. Know you are learning. And, you know, accept support. Because to ask for support, it means you are humble. You know, I don't know everything, but somebody can help me. So let's work, help me grow. You will find yourself, you know, growing in leaps and bounds beyond, as we say, recognition. The other point that I also realized, not realized, but the growing cost of political, partisan political office seeking is really going to be a bigger barrier than we see. In fact, I think it's something that all political parties must put heads together. Because, I mean, you meet, besides all our so-called acrimony, we have our friendships and we all complain. So it's something that can actually affect women differently than also for men. Because the gender analysis, there are things that happen, it has a way of affecting a man this way or a woman that way. And when you get into serious, heavy financing, this is where certain morality issues can come in, and then it becomes a challenge for people. And I believe that as a nation, we need to look at some of the ways of financing our democratic process. Even assembly elections have become now an expensive mode. It never used to be, but it's become, and we must be open and talk about it so we can do something, because I believe it will reduce the opportunities for women to climb up the ladder, especially in political aim. I'm even seeing that in student politics, SRC, JCR president, whatever. It's all happening because they come and solicit for support. So, you know, things are getting way out of. But the things that I'm happy, and I think sometimes we don't celebrate our successes. The parliament, before it rose, the normal rising, passed the affirmative action bill into a law. Now it's been signed. It is a very huge step. I left Parliament in 2012, after the 2012, let's say beginning 2013. We have this spousal property bill when I was there. It still hasn't been passed. It's still there. I remember Joe at Aho used to tell me, hey, Freeman, this is your bill. I wonder, do you think it's going to be passed? So it will be, we are here. But the point is that we don't have the critical numbers. We don't have the critical numbers of women in parliament. And we do need the critical numbers to get people to be more confident. You know, I can tell you, even with all the confidence, by the time I was going to parliament, I have been a lecturer, acting head of department, I've been a head country director for big organizations, UN, and so on. But the first time I tried to speak in parliament, I was shaking. Let me be honest. It is not easy to stand in front of, in that chamber, be recognized by the speaker, and even the whole culture of how you open your statements and whatnot. It's a huge thing. It's very intimidating, and they know you are new, and they know you are a woman, and they will heckle you. But we know also how we survived. Fortunately, I don't think all three of us were not quiet in parliament. I'm sure at that time, if you were paying attention, you will see that none of us were quiet. We actually got our voices heard. But it didn't start instantly. There are a lot of intimidation. But you also, there's something that you need as a person to build some inner strength and know that it is all right to even make a mistake. It is all right to speak the bad English. And it's all right. And that whatever it is, in the end, you want to get your message across, you will get it across. And I believe that we should, encourage women into politics. But this affirmative action law now, I believe is going to be a game changer, but not without effort. We know many laws that have been made in the country that are more or less collecting dust. Sometimes even people wonder if there was a law ever passed in that parliament. But fortunately, what I've seen is that there is a roadmap. There are some targets set for the achievement of the quotas. So it is all up to all of us to help our various institutions where we have influence to ensure that the quotas are being adhered to. It talks about even the private sector. It talks about the judiciary, parliamentarians, and also even the political parties are enjoined, even what the EC should do. So in the end, you get to the EC and you may be disqualified. And I don't think anybody wants to be, no serious political party wants to be disqualified. So in the end, you will find that things can happen. But it will need our conscious understanding of what the provisions are and how we can push our legislators and our various institutions, because this is not one that is limited to one section of the populace. It's limited, it's a responsibility for all. Even if you are looking at health, what should you have in place in the health sector to ensure that women are needs are properly taken care of, and so on and so forth. So as you've all stressed the quota, whether the political parties now internally will have their own system of whether they are going to declare maybe 50% of the Ashanti seats very open only to women, or 50% of the voter seats for NDC for only women, so that they will, in their way, achieve the targets that have been set within the affirmative action law. That will is a debate that will come on after the elections, because now we have passed it. It's the new government that will have to spearhead the implementation. But I must say that I want to commend the moderator, want to comment our dear panelists, and the sharp young people who gave their contributions and questions on this very important topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Akosia Frema Oseo-Pare. We have the closing remarks by Esinam Lucy Ama Apasu. She's the Assistant Global Organizer and member of 1999 Year Group. Let's put our hands together for her.
You see, Esinam, you see the women thing. No.
Good evening. Honorable Chairperson, esteemed panelists, AOGA Global Presidents and Executives, all beacons. Thank you everyone for joining us in this significant discussion. Today, our panelists have shared insights and strategies that underscore both our progress and the challenges that remain in achieving gender equity in leadership, politics, and governance. As we close, let us remember that change is not the responsibility of those already in positions of power. It is a collective effort. Each of us, including the young women here today, plays a vital role in shaping a future where all voices are represented and valued. To the students listening, we hope this discussion inspires you to set ambitious goals. Pursue leadership with confidence and know that your potential has no limits. We have all heard the expression, talk is cheap, and actions speak louder than words. Well, we are pleased to say today's program is not just about dialoguing. There is an action component. AOGA plans to share the salient points for today's proceedings with the relevant officials. Specifically, the information will be compiled and presented to the incoming government, Specifically, the information will be compiled and presented to the incoming government, offering them a tangible framework as they make appointments and decisions in the months ahead following the elections. It's our hope that these recommendations will contribute to a future where women's representation and leadership continue to grow and strengthen our nation. We are immensely grateful to all our panelists for making the time to be here today. To the young women here, remember that today's dialogue is just a one step in a journey that invites you to lead and impact change. Thank you to our distinguished panelists and all of you for your commitment to advancing equity and inclusion. Let's continue to work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Esinam Apasu. We'll have the closing prayer. After the closing prayer, the reception will be at the foyer. So the closing prayer is by Reverend Abna Boama Asari.
Thank you. Can we please be on our feet for the last time? Thank you, Father. Father, we thank you. The Bible says that God, you looked down on the earth and you saw the unity of the people building the Tower of Babel. And you said, behold, this people is one. Therefore, nothing they seek to do will be difficult for them. Make us one, as women, young and old, as we have shared ideas. Help us to implement them in unity, not looking at political, tribal, ethical divides, but seeing you in the picture and what your vision for us is. May Ghana continue to be strong. May you continue to bless our homeland and make us great and strong through the power of women. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please wait.